Bernie Madoff, the greatest Ponzi schemer ever, he was operating for decades, and it was only until 2008, the financial collapse, and there was bank runs, people needed money, did finally his Ponzi scheme get exposed. Meaning if crypto would have kept going and going and going, could it possibly have been decades before Sam Bankman Fried and FTX were exposed?
No, because they were too reckless. I mean, Madoff was extremely buttoned down, controlled, right? Very deliberate, and actually, in the greater scheme of things, conservative. Madoff didn't put his name on a stadium. He didn't splash. Did Madoff give $1 billion to politicians? Did Madoff ever put out a press release saying, I'm going to give? What happens when a person with no money 24 months ago puts out a press release saying, I'm going to give $1 billion to the Democrats in the next 2 years?
Good point.
You don't
Madoff
think
kept
you're
his head down, wasn't looking for headlines. But SBF was searching for headlines.
But if you listen to people that talk about how they came into Nassau, guns a-blazing, so he came in, he bought every piece of real estate. They said, well, here's this penthouse. They want 40, offer him 32. It's like, it doesn't matter, it's a rounding error. Give him 36 or whatever. He was just splashing money around like it was free.
No, but Michael, you're in the crypto world, right? Pat and I are, maybe we own some Bitcoin, Ethereum.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and rightfully so, there's a lot of Monday morning quarterback about Sam Bankman Fried and FTX. Well, it turns out illegal. Turns out this. Were there stories circulating a year ago, 2 years ago, during all the fraud, not the aftermath?
Look, the stuff in the domain a year ago was Sam makes $10 million a week at Alameda. Alameda is a money machine that generates $10 million a week or $500 million a year, and that's his cash cow. And the exchange is just the exchange. And then people couldn't quite figure out the rest, except for the fact that all these tokens are air tokens that are being manipulated offshore, right? So the belief was they were good traders and they were manipulating air tokens and running an unregulated exchange. The truth, of course, that comes out now is they weren't good traders. They were goofballs. And really, the machine that made this all work, the brilliance of it is to generate $10 billion worth of fake collateral and then borrow $10 billion.
It's crazy to me.
Well, three things. I generate $10 billion in fake collateral. I take $10 billion of money out of my bank from my real customers. I show fake fraudulent accounting statements to investors and get them to give me billions more. And then I pledge the token collateral to other crypto hedge funds and get them to give me billions of loans. So you could say that last part, that was, I took advantage of some other crypto bros that were also a bit, risk addicted, too aggressive. And I took advantage of venture capitalists that threw caution to the wind, that weren't paying attention. And the first part is, I attracted all those billions by just telling people I'll give them extreme leverage and let them trade these tokens and make it cheap. And then, again, there are these diabolical twists where Sam would buy BlockFi and then pressure them to put their assets on his exchange. And so he bought a lot of things, and when he bought the things, he would pressure the people to put their assets on his exchange or trade with him. So I'm issuing equity, like the equity in FTX, was worth, Sam would say, it's a $32 billion valuation. You remember reading that in Forbes and Fortune? Okay, I've got a $32 billion company. I'm going to give you $1 billion worth of FTX equity. And then I've got my shadow equity, $10 billion worth of FTT. At one point, FTT was worth $15 billion. So they generated these two equity tokens, the people that are based on what? Opaque financials that are fraudulent, right? If I have fraudulent financials and I crank up the two equity tokens, then I can use them to do acquisitions. You're rolling the entire thing forward. So I guess my point here is, if you're doing that and you're extracting $5 billion of real cash, and then he put $1 billion into a Bitcoin miner, He put $1 billion into marketing. He bought $1 billion worth of other stuff. If you're actually extracting real cash, you're burning the candle at both ends. And so it was destined to blow up because they were just too aggressive. Just like with Terra Luna, UST was a stable coin. When it was a couple $1 billion and Luna was a few billion more, it's like a $6-8 billion unstable thing. But what blew it up was when Do Kwon decided he wanted to offer 20% yield on UST, and he took that $2 billion stable coin to be worth almost $20 billion. Now you've got $20 billion, and then Luna became worth $60 billion or $50 billion. So you've got like this $65-70 billion complex getting big too fast. It's like if I borrowed $20 billion and I agreed to pay you 20% interest, I have to come up with $4 billion a year in real cash to roll that forward. And if I'm printing my own equity token to pay the $4 billion, eventually that equity token crashes because it gets diluted in the market and the entire thing just goes to zero. So going fast on a Ponzi scheme caused it to blow up. Bernie Madoff went slow, and that's why he was able to roll. And he didn't wave a red flag at the bull, right? I mean, Sam was going hard. He was basically attacking the entire Bitcoin community by supporting all this ESG BS about using electricity. He was also attacking the other crypto exchanges like Binance. He was also going head-to-head with the SEC. Those are three powerful sets of enemies, while you're going 180 miles an hour.
Do you think he knew he was going to get caught at some point?
No, I think he was.
You think he's doing all this illegal stuff? You used the 14-year-old kid who stole the parents' car analogy with the drugs and the gun in the back. He's doing all this. He's defrauding people, investors, consumers. He's doing all this stuff, all this illegal stuff with Bahamas. It's left, right, illegal. And you generally think he didn't think he would ever get caught?
He's delusional. Novogratz said he's delusional. Like a week after he blew the entire thing up, he was thinking he could just make a phone call and raise $10 billion in order to save it. He's going to process this for the next 2, 3, 4 years. And, many years from now, he may look back, if he's honest with himself, and figure out what he did. I think he's just deluding himself.
So with all the craziness taking place, I believe future looks bright. If you believe future looks bright, get your latest Future Looks Bright hat of Valuetainment. It says Future Looks Bright here, Future Looks Bright here. We got them in white, we got them in black, we got them in red. Our black on black sold out. These are about to sell out. If you haven't ordered one yet, we had a person in Michigan, bought one, then he bought 3. Then when those 3 people weren't in the office, they had to order 58 of them because people wanted the Future Looks Bright hat, especially during times like this, because ain't nobody saying Future Looks Bright. To order your Future Looks Bright hat, click over here. And to watch the entire podcast, click here. Take care, everybody.